Hello, my name's Dom Robinson. I have been a diver for 30 odd years. These days I mainly specialise in deeper kind of exploratory diving, and I've started to post my videos from my diving online, and my YouTube channel is going pretty well, and lots of people seem to enjoy watching them, so that's really nice, and it means that we can share sort of an aspect of diving that I think relatively few people get the opportunity to experience.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the BiG Scuba podcast. My name is Ian. This is episode 204. With me is...
Hello, my name is Gemma and welcome to the BiG Scuba podcast.
Yes, right from the top, let me tell you these episodes are sponsored by Narct at 90. They are beyond technical, Gemma.
Yes, they are. So look them up at their website, www.narct@90, or click the link in our show notes and have a look at everything that they do, the equipment they supply, and servicing and advice they give as well.
Are they on your speed dial? If not, get them on there, get them and that website, bookmark it when you need to buy, for all you lovely technical divers out there who want the kit.
Yep.
Get your stuff serviced. You know, we've got to get our kit serviced. Make sure you contact Narct at 90 because they're the ones to help you. Anyway, we've got a guest for you. We like to have a guest. If you're wondering what on earth this podcast is all about, we get divers on, we get explorers, underwater photographers, people who got some kind of connection to the water.
Yes, so they range from scuba divers, recreational divers, tech divers, wreck divers, and we've spoken to astronauts.
People who like looking at wet rocks.
Yes, yeah, cave divers. No offence. We've spoken to people that sculpt, magicians that work underwater.
Abracadabra.
Yeah.
How do they say abracadabra underwater?
I don't know. Maybe they wear a rebreather and they can talk to each other.
Still can't quite hear.
Really, we're here to inspire anybody to look at the underwater world. If you're a diver or even a non-diver, but
I be a diver, I be.
Yes, everybody's got a story
from
to tell.
Bungie.
Well done. And also we mentioned marine life as well. People that are passionate about marine life, like sharks, whale sharks.
Sharks.
Yes.
Seahorses.
Yeah. So there we go. So if we've got a back catalogue of
one of them.
204 episodes, so there's a lot of variety there to catch up on.
There is something for everybody, something for all the family, put it that way.
Exactly, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. We also have a YouTube channel, so you can watch some of the people that we've spoken to and some of the adventures we've got up to under the water, on the water, and above the water.
And we're on social media, so all the time. So there's something there. Do contact us on there as well. Send us a DM, and if there's anything you got a story you want to tell and share with the class, raise your hand, let us know, and we'll get you on. Exactly. We'll just talk to anyone, really.
Yes, yeah, we've spoken to all sorts. Right, so what have we been up to?
I don't know, Gemma. What have we been?
So we have been out on a bit of a road trip, and one of the days we went to deep camping.
Yes.
Down in the west of the country.
It's not NDAC.
No, so for all you previous divers that have been at NDAC doesn't exist anymore. The lake still exists, but it has a different purpose now, and that is deep campus.
Yes. We've all moved on.
Yes.
Okay. So stop sending the messages. When's it opening again?
It's not.
It's not. We've all moved on.
No, so its purpose is very much for ocean exploration, and we visited probably almost a year ago to the.
Well, it was about February time, wasn't it, when we went?
Yeah.
And that it was like we were like rabbits caught in the headlights a bit, because didn't really know what to expect when we went there for the first time, and it is so impressive. There's too much in a lot of ways to take in when you first go, because it's like flip. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting all this. This is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so they're developing things. It's an underwater habitat called the Sentinel. So it's like it's got two moon pools in where divers can access the underwater world, and this will actually sit on the seabed. So that's being developed, and they're like modules, so they'll be able to be transported around the world, and you can make up different modules and join them together, but it's all part of ocean exploration. So at the moment, the first visit we went in a wooden mock-up in
Yeah.
one of their buildings, and this time they've got a land-based metal mock-up that sits on the campus site. That's never going underwater.
That's a simulator,
It's just a
isn't it?
simulator, yeah. So, but yeah, it was great to see that this silver kind of I don't know.
It's big as well. It's like it's the size of a 2-story house.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of size that we're talking.
Yeah. So our visit comprised of, we jumped in the Defender and went down the notorious road down to the waterside.
I used to go down in the transits.
So the road
Pray the brakes worked.
Yeah, exactly. So the road goes right down to the water now. It's been widened. And then there are various pontoons in the lake, concrete pontoons.
Yeah.
And we then jumped on an electric boat.
Yeah.
And went across the water to where the 2 Triton 3-man subs stationed. So they're on platforms above the water.
Each sub can do 1,000 meters.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Incredible. So yeah, 3 people can be in them, the pilot and 2 passengers. And we had a tour of them by submersible pilot Seb.
Yeah.
So
he gives a very good sort of Q&A session, didn't he, around subs?
He explained about the buoyancy, how they descend and ascend, and then we actually sat inside them, and he went through the different parts of the submersible, and it's got a 6-inch thick perspex sphere, which is just awesome. And they've actually been deployed into the lake. So Phil Short, who was our host for the day, he'd experienced that already and seen it's all a big
sturgeon. Some big sturgeon. We weren't alone actually, because we should also shout out to Mark Caney and his daughter Anouk.
Yeah, so there were 4 of us on the visit, hosted by Phil and Seb down on the waterside. So, and then we went back over to the pontoon on the boat and back up the road. And then we had the tour of the land-based simulator Sentinel.
We did. And we should also say, probably at this point, before we talk about the Sentinel, so with what's going on there, and environmental harmony is at the center of what they're doing, not just at the lake, but for the future as well. And it's all going to it's about scientific research and protecting the oceans and things. So why would you not want to protect the environment where you are locally? So they're spending a lot of money, a lot of time. The lake is monitored for its health, is make sure it's a healthy piece of water. And even around the rocks around the side, if you remember what it used to look like, it's an old slate quarry. So although they've got metal like grid shielding up against a lot of rocks, they get people in to monitor that, because they don't have people in the water if there's still movement in the rocks and things. So that's all being monitored. Health and safety is on par, isn't it? And all the way through, and you feel very safe. There's a lot of work going on in training, and that will carry through all the way through to what they will do in the future with the Sentinels.
Yeah, no, it's really, they're putting all these protocols in place and training plans, and it's just an awful amount of work, but for the best, great of the future.
Yeah, if you're not following Deep, make sure you are. There's Deep and Deep Manufacturing. They've got these very high tech, right, on the edge of technology. So you've seen and heard of plastic printers, the printer, that
3D printers.
3D printers. Well, they do this in metal and alloy. So that's the cutting edge. So all this stuff is being done with these type of machines. And so hence when we went there and saw all these machines, what they're doing, it's like, wow, this is, if you're really into your tech, and especially engineering, this is cutting edge stuff. So for you guys who are finishing uni and things like that, they're a company to certainly to keep your eyes on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we had a view of the Sentinel, walked around up to the viewing platforms.
Yeah.
And then Phil, gave us a guided tour. And then we went back to sort of the main campus and had a lunch and met a few more of the team while we were out there having lunch.
Yeah, very impressive site, and and there's so much going on at the minute, and the future of it is really exciting of what they're going to do.
Yeah,
so definitely keep your eye on it.
Yes, and several of our previous guests are involved in Deep. So Phil Short, obviously, Kirk Crock, Dawn Kanigas.
Dawn,
yeah. So these are all people that are involved in Deep.
And we've got to say thanks to Phil and Deep at large for inviting us to come back this year and see what changes they've done and where they've got to in the plan. So I want to say thank you very much for inviting us.
Yeah, you can go back on our YouTube channel and see videos from our previous visit, and shortly there'll be more on our YouTube channel of our new visit. So
we've got some stuff
actually
to come out
as a visual as well.
So that'll be out.
So, and then coming up this coming weekend, you're on dive master duty at Stony Cove, so the flag will be flying. So do go and say hello. There'll be some free gifts out there.
Free gifts. Come say hello. Just look out for the flag. Try and get the usual position. Don't be scared. I don't bite, honestly. Come say hello, and I'll take your name and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode and get a free gift. What about that?
Hopefully the weather will be fair and sunny, and you'll have a good weekend at Stony.
I think it's meant to be. I think there's the odd chance of a shower. I don't like getting too wet when I'm diving.
No, definitely not. Why would you want to do that?
Exactly. That'd be weird.
So keep an eye on our social media for updates of your Dive Master weekend. And also keep an eye on our social media for offers. We have got affiliate links with Stream to Sea now, who make coral and ocean friendly, like sun cream and shampoo, conditioners. So if you're going to
save your money, don't we?
Yes.
Happy Bottle as well.
Yes, so you've got to stay hydrated while you're diving. So Happy Bottles produce a 900ml tumbler that is very easy and robust.
They are robust. I have dropped mine out of my truck loads of times and it still works.
You just throw it out the window.
Had it in the sauna, still cold. What else have I done with that? I've done loads of stuff.
Yeah, they keep drink either cold or they're for hot drinks as well. Don't forget to look up Waterhall again, one of our partners. So they make sunglasses and litter picking equipment from recycled ghost fishing gear and plastic. So it's all good stuff out of the ocean but made into something more productive.
Fourth Element as well, we do work for them, and we often share their sales that they've often got on as well.
So we're not just a podcast, we do offer little bits of savings for
and I'll give a shout out. If you're not following these, we are outreach partners for these and have been for a number of years. Look out the Reef World Foundation and Greenfins. If you're listening to us outside the UK, definitely make sure you're following them because they're doing lots of good stuff in the diving world.
Or if you're thinking about going further afield, diving, they kind of grade different dive centres. So if they've got their seal of approval, that that is a really
you think about going to Asia for diving, go to their website, Green Fins or the Reef World Foundation.
Absolutely. Yep. So there's lots there to look up.
So our guest coming up.
So our guest is Dominic Robinson. He's based in the UK and he is also known as deep wreck diver. So his passion is deep wrecks. So he dives on a rebreather and just enjoys the exploration and the history of seeking out wrecks and then going to dive them.
So in the interest of being balanced, we said about cave divers looking at wet rocks. Wreck divers like looking at wet bits of metal.
They do.
If we're going to, in the interest of balance.
I'm sure wreck divers and cave divers have lots to talk about each other.
They do.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been an interesting conversation with Dominic. He's got a YouTube channel where he documents a lot of his dives, and it is the exploration of these unknown wrecks. They find a mark and go and dive it, and hopefully it's always a wreck that they then can identify and learn more about the history. And he tells some really interesting stories about some discoveries that have kind of brought things to life and given people maybe a bit of closure on if they had family members on a boat that got lost.
Yeah. Well, let's get him on.
Hello, my name's Dom Robinson. I have been a diver for 30 odd years. These days, I mainly specialise in deeper kind of exploratory diving, and I've started to post my my videos from my diving online, and my YouTube channel is going pretty well, and lots of people seem to enjoy watching them. So that's really nice, and it means that we can share sort of an aspect of diving that I think relatively few people get the opportunity to experience.
Welcome to the BiG Scuba podcast. It's great
to
finally meet you.
Thank you.
So what does being underwater mean to you?
What does being underwater mean to me? Well, there's a few different things. I think it's an opportunity to do something that relatively few other people get to do, and we all have stuff in our lives. You know, we've all got the mundane and the humdrum rather, and the opportunity to do something that's generally exciting and different, and to get that sense of escape and everything. That for me is really important.
Great. So how did your underwater journey start? Did you
Yeah, so when I was a child, I was very fortunate that we lived in Papua New Guinea. And when I was out there, my dad was a second-class diver, and he decided that the thing to do would be to take his young son diving. So it didn't bother with any of that training or anything like that. So he just put the gear on me and took me in, and it was obviously massive because it was adult stuff. And I got to swim around a coral reef, which was just an unbelievable experience, as you can probably imagine. The reefs in New Guinea, particularly, in the 80s when I was there, were, are meant to be better than the barrier reef, So it's kind of, incredible experience. But so anyway, I did a little bit of that and quite a lot of snorkeling when I was there as well. And then when I came back to the UK, I ended up joining the military. And as part of my time in the military, I got the opportunity to go and do some adventurous training. And during that process, I got properly trained, properly taught how to use the gear, and that kind of kindled the love in of diving in me fully. And I took it from there really. So I've been a diver, as I say, for 30 odd years. I ended up, when I left the military, I ran the Joint Service Subaquid Diving Centre here in Plymouth for quite a while, and during that time, I really got into rebreather diving. And from rebreather diving, I started doing the deeper stuff and got involved with various different groups doing that. And that's kind of pretty much where I ended up now. So, in terms of numbers, I have probably got 4,000 dives, maybe, I guess. And in terms of hours underwater, who knows? Incredible number.
Yeah.
I've got all sorts of qualifications, as you would expect. But these days, as I say, my main passion with diving is exploration.
So when you were in the military, was it all single tank? Did you do any technical stuff in the military to give you that taste?
No, I mean, the last course I did while I was still serving was a rebreather course. So at that time, I was a student at Joint Services. They still ran the rebreather courses there. So that was the last course I did. But the vast majority of my diving in the military was single cylinder, an awful lot of training. So I trained innumerable people to be ocean divers or sports divers or dive leaders or whatever. So I did an awful lot of that. But as I say, not so much these days.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that progresses, into what you're actually doing now on, this amazing rebreather.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what I would probably say is, for me, I got to a stage where I'd done so much training and I'd trained so many different people. I was looking to do something different, and I think for me that's what the technical diving gave me. All of a sudden, it just kind of put me back to where I had been, 20 odd years beforehand. So it was almost like learning to dive again. It was almost like an entirely new activity, but obviously some of the skills are transferable. But it definitely rekindled.
And I suppose you're doing it more for you.
Sorry?
Doing it more for you. The emphasis to change, rather when you're training people, it's all about them. And I suppose after that period had finished, you'd gone into more doing the diving for the type of diving that you wanted to follow and enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable. That's not to say I didn't enjoy training, which I did for a very long period of time, and I know there are people who put a huge amount of effort into it. All my qualifications are British Sub-Aqua Club. It's a fantastic organisation. It does, there's lots of people who volunteer their time and enthusiasm to pass on their skills and knowledge, and it's great. And I've done that in the past, but I got a bit jaded, I guess I would say, and I've kind of switched focus, and this is great. I probably do 60 technical dives a year. So, and if you consider, it's one dive a day, I do a huge amount. In fact, I'm off tomorrow, and I've got some dives next week as well. So, it's definitely rekindled the passion in me.
Yeah, which is good, isn't it? Because that's the whole point. And I think if you spend years training and diving for work and things like that, then it comes hard to then go for a pleasure dive, I suppose. And I think because you spend so much time underwater anyway, so it's good that then you can then move and you change the emphasis and then start to explore these deep wrecks. What was the first one on the list?
The first what? Deep wreck?
Yeah.
I think the thing with technical diving is very progressive, isn't it? So you don't go from deciding I'm going to be a technical diver to diving a wreck that nobody's ever been on before. So you have to kind of move up through the levels, spend some
time at depth.
Yeah. So so for me, I'm based in Plymouth. I'm very, very lucky. My first technical dives were the kind of the 50, 60 meter ones around Plymouth, and we're very fortunate that we have quite a selection of them, and they've been used for a very long time for training people on. But then what I've done is I've slowly moved out from there, and as you go further and further out, then the wrecks get less and being dived less and less until eventually you hit wrecks that have never been dived before. So I've probably lost count of the number of wrecks that I've dived that nobody's dived before, which is
amazing.
I guess quite unusual in this day and age, but also really nice.
This episode is brought to you by Narct at 90, the cutting-edge pioneers in the world of diving equipment. Meet the founders, John Routley and Brent Hudson, who have logged thousands of mixed gas dives over the past 3 decades. About 20 years ago, these experienced technical divers combined their passion for diving and engineering skills to create Narct at 90. Whether you're new to diving and ready to take it up a notch, have a fair amount of experience, or are considering a transition into technical diving, we highly recommend Narct at 90. They're ready to advise on the best equipment and setup for your personal and commercial needs. Narct at 90 also has extensive hands-on experience with shearwater and ratio dive computers, being the longest-serving UK service centre for these brands. They're ready to offer technical support, servicing, repairs and upgrades for all Shearwater and Ratio computers, past and present. In addition to Shearwater and Ratio, Narct at 90 stocks and supports many other brands, such as DiveSoft, JJCCR, Hollis, Revo and Kiss rebreathers. The diving community is always enthusiastic about Narct at 90, and it's easy to see why. Here are just a few reasons. Full head servicing for rebreathers from various manufacturers, bespoke cable assemblies, advice on specific fitting requirements, suggestions and guidance for home builds, computer laser cutting and engraving, CNC milling and turning, pressure testing to simulate 400-metre dives. We're thrilled to partner with Narct at 90, a company that has ignited so much passion for diving and has been incredibly supportive and innovative in producing and selling dive equipment. Visit narctat90.com to see why they're a renowned name in diving. Stay updated on their insights and offers by following them on social media. Just search for Narct at 90 on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and hit that follow button.
We're a bit of a troublesome race that over all the hundreds of years, when you look back, we've either been attacked or been involved in certain wars or something else. And we went to, a mutual friend, Lee Bishop, was talking at Go Dive Show last year, and he was talking about wrecks, and he picked out one part of the south coast, sort of Plymouth way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And hundreds of wrecks. You could put a pin in the map and it would pick out some other wreck. And these are all known wrecks, loads of known wrecks, and various depths and from various ages. And it is amazing around our UK just how many wrecks we've got in such a small confined space.
Yeah, absolutely, for certain. And I mean, Lee is an absolute legend in this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He has probably dived more wrecks, been first dive on more wrecks than probably anybody in the country. I'd have thought, arguably anybody in the world. I've got the great pleasure. I have done quite a bit of diving with him over the last few years. And last year, for instance, we dived with the Dark Star technical team, and we took the boat Dark Star from Plymouth over to Southern Ireland to Cork, and en route we stopped basically in the middle between Cornwall and Southern Ireland and dived a mark there.
Wow.
100 meters, almost certainly never been dived before, because it's nobody would ever go there. It's just too difficult to get there, and found an absolutely fascinating wreck. It's one of the ones I've got some video of it. I've promised Lee that I'm not going to put it on the YouTube channel until I do something with him, because it was just such an interesting wreck. But it was great to do that with him, and great for me, because he is somebody I look up to as a kind of a hero, a bit of a mentor, those kind of things. And to do something like that with him was really special. And then when we were in Ireland, we took Dark Star the boat, and our main target while we were there was to go and dive a liner. Now, obviously, ocean liners, they are the queens of the sea. There are quite a few around the British Isles, but very, very few that haven't been dived. And so we went off 70 miles from Cork, and we dived a wreck called the HMS Memora. It was a liner, but it was taken up for military use in the First World War. 200 meters, nearly 200 meters long, 10,000 tons, torpedoed in the First World War. And we went out, we dived it, and identified the mark and all that kind of stuff. And it's just an unbelievable sensation, unbelievable experience to get to do something like that. And it was great for me, because I did it with Lee, who has done something similar many times before.
Yeah, it's true exploration. It's like getting into space. It's just like, incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's if you think about it, and it's a point I sometimes make to people, if you think about it, there are no more mountains to climb. They've all been done, haven't they? There are no more rivers to explore. There are no more countries to find. If you want to do exploration, you're right. You've either got to go to space or you've got to go to the bottom of the ocean. And the reality for most people is going to space is not financially possible. We're really, really lucky, especially in this country, that you can still go and do genuine exploration within, within a reasonable budget. I mean, obviously it's expensive, but it's not kind of out of the reach of mere mortals. So, it's fantastic to be able to do that. And it's definitely at this point in my life, it's the thing that I probably enjoy the most.
Yeah. So technical diving, some people go into they specialize in wildlife. Other people go into caves and exploring new cave systems. So what enticed you into wrecks rather than caves?
Yeah. So I have to say I'm a bit sniffy about caves. So apologies to any cave divers who are listening out there. You know what? And I am going to be slightly rude. So so it's really easy to go and look at wet rocks. You just get a rock and pour some water over it, and you've got that sorted. So whereas wrecks, you cannot see wrecks anywhere else other than the bottom of the sea, and each one is different. They're all unique, but not only are they unique to look at, and there's the opportunity for identification. What they've all got is a story, and the stories are about people by and large. And one of the things I try and do when I put a wreck dive online is I try and tell the story of that wreck as well, and the people who are associated with it. So there's some, amazing things have happened on the back of doing this. My favourite one of all is about 3 years ago with Dark Star again. We dived right past the Scilly Isles, so 40 miles past the Scilly Isles, 115 meters of water. We found a wreck called the United States ship Jacob Jones, which was the first American destroyer sunk by enemy action, and had been lost ever since. 65 guys died on it. We found it. We actually found the bell. So I have video. I've got Rick Ayrton took photos of the bell. So we got all those things, and we came back up and we reported it, and it made the press, and there was loads of media coverage about it, as you would imagine. And the Royal Navy went back and recovered the bell at the beginning of last year, actually. So that was really nice. But that's the bit that's not nice about it. The bit that's nice about it, though, is I put some stuff on Facebook, and I got a Facebook message from a lady in Ireland, and her grandfather was on the Jacob Jones, and neither her or her mother knew where it was. And so because we'd found it, all of a sudden it sort of gave them closure. And she then sent me some photos of her granddad. She sent me the life story of her grandmother and all those kind of things. And about a month ago, she got in touch with me to say that the Americans had invited her to, there's an American military cemetery in Hampshire, a place called Brookwood, where most of the guys who recovered from the Jacob Jones were buried. So she's been invited there for their Memorial Day ceremony, which is in a few weeks' time. And you can imagine she's absolutely over the moon that somebody other than her and her mother, who's now deceased, obviously remember her grandfather. And it's just a really nice end to that particular story. So I have to say I do get a real sense of achievement out of that.
Yeah, because if you'd not been there, it would have never have happened. It's just,
exactly. Yeah,
and I think it's pretty amazing when you, we're talking on the 9th of May, is the day after the 80th mark of the ceasefire and in Europe, victory in Europe. And when you listen to some of the stories that, of people who went and served either the Merchant Navy, in the Royal Navy, and all the other services, and some of these people, you just can't imagine what it must have been like for these relatives to then disappear, gone, and they, if they were torpedoed, especially like on the route to Russia, they were gone and they didn't even know what happened to them. And it must, so what you're doing is pretty amazing when you find these wrecks and let people know.
Yeah, I mean, I have to. I think so. I mean, I think we also forget how dangerous it was as well. So
Yeah.
there is, I mean, there's a wreck just out here from Plymouth, it's called the Charlwood, but everyone calls it the Glass Wreck. It's full of kind of cheap glass that was being taken for sale in South America, and in the sort of late 19th century, it was a iron hulled sailing ship. Late in the
Right.
19th century, at night, another ship collided with it, a steamship, and killed the captain, his wife, one of his kid's nanny, and
Right.
one of the children. I think there was two children on board. One of the children managed to survive and got on board, but I think that it was like it was a 9-year-old boy, and you think actually for that child in that in the 19th century, all of a sudden his life has changed absolutely forever. Um,
Yeah.
and just because they didn't have particularly good lights and they didn't have navigation systems and they didn't have collision warning devices and all those kind of things, and the number of ships that were out there, there's loads of casualties from both world wars, of course, as well, but there's just kind of ordinary ordinary
Yeah.
collisions as well, and there's loads and loads of them, and sometimes ships would just spring a leak and sink. I wasn't on it, but there was a dive last year that Dark started where they found a wreck called the Cape Clear off Land's End, and that was a ship that left Liverpool once again in the 19th century, I think bound for either South America or possibly South Africa, and just vanished. So as far as the world was known, it was somewhere between Liverpool
No
and South
way.
America. Turns out it's just off Land's End. But everybody dead. No, no survivors, no debris, nothing. It just completely vanished, and it's incredible. So once again, another mystery solved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real fact finding and exploration. And in your planning for diving, so if you're planning, is it survey work that you think, oh, we're going to try and see a point or and then dive it?
Yeah, so we're really lucky in this country that the UK Hydrographic Office, and it's the same in Ireland as well. They have actually a better organisation that does it, that maps the seabed, and what they do is they make that data publicly available.
Mm.
So if you were to go on RecSite, which is kind of our Bible, you go on RecSite, you can see that survey data, and so you can have a
Yeah.
look through it, and you can see all the anomalies that have been found. And then there's other data that's overlaid on top of it, and it's an absolutely incredible resource. So we all, in the evening, I kind of sit there pouring through pouring through marks on
The next
RecSite
one.
rather than doing whatever it is that my wife thinks I should be doing. But it's an incredible resource, and that is how we find things to go and look at. Now, obviously, there's not always something there, and quite often you will get down and there's just a big pile of nothing. In which case, you've travelled for a long way to get there, and you go and see a rock or whatever it is. But that's part of the game, really. It is exploration. You can't hit every time.
Yeah, oh, it's exciting stuff. And then you've gone and brought a wreck.
I've bought a wreck, yes, and that's attracted more attention than I thought it would.
So how did that
Yeah. So
discussion go with the missus?
what did my wife think about it? My wife, as you can probably tell, is a wonderful person who is exceptionally tolerant of the fact that I spent a long time away from home diving, and I come back and spend the evening poring over RecSite. No, she's a wonderful woman, and therefore she puts up with some of the bizarre things that I do, including buying a shipwreck. So I've always known that you can buy shipwrecks. I've also known that the government stopped selling them quite a long time ago, and therefore the supply and demand is a bit limited. So I've made several previous attempts to buy one. I have actually approached the government through the receiver of wreck to ask to buy one. Unfortunately, they declined the opportunity. And I also have a friend who owns a wreck that he bought in the 80s, and he once again has declined to sell it to me. So I've always had this kind of view that I would quite like one, and therefore Facebook has got a wonderful algorithm, as we all know. It tries to show you things, and so when the shores put put their ship online and saw it, and I picked up on the advert. I was in there like a shot. I didn't argue or haggle too much over the price, and I'm very pleased that I've done it, because I've definitely got more value out of it in terms of lots of interesting media coverage, and it's been great for the YouTube channel as well, because that video has done particularly well.
Yeah,
And
it's
what's the
great for
plan with
you.
it?
Sorry,
What's the plan with it?
what's the plan with it?
Yeah, what's
The
the
plan with
plan?
it is to go and dive it once a year, and hope that eventually something falls away and I can find the bell. It's got to be down there somewhere, but it's almost certainly, it's mainly upside down, the armor branch, so it's probably buried under a load of plate, and it will require a big storm or something to kind of move it away before we can find it.
Yeah. And what was it about it that made you buy it?
It wasn't
Why?
particularly
I
special.
know there's nothing special about it.
No, it's just that it happened to be available, and it was, as I say, I've never seen one come up for sale before. I'd be surprised if I ever do again. So that was it. Having said that, it is it's a relatively interesting wreck. It's a turret steamer, which is a type of ship that was developed to kind of evade or to minimise shipping tolls going through places like the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal. It'd been around the world. It was built up in Sunderland. It was defensively armed when it was sunk. It was one of 2 ships that was sunk on the same day, almost in the same place, which is crazy when you think about it. And obviously it's relatively close into Plymouth as well, which is quite nice, because it means it's quite easy for me to go and visit it.
Yeah, and it's great for UK diving as well to see this, exposure of people buying wrecks, and this kind of knowledge that we have got so many wrecks around our coastline.
Yeah, for certain. I think one of the problems with diving is that it doesn't really hit the media very much,
No.
unless it is a kind of negative story. And we've all seen plenty of those things. So I guess I don't think there's any negativity around this. So it's kind of a quite a nice story. I don't know if you saw it. There was a thing in the newspaper, in the Observer, where they kind of did a summary of the week's news, and basically they highlighted 5 different things, and they categorized them as important and unimportant, and surprising and not surprising. So there was something about Elon Musk, there was something about the Pope, and then in the bottom right hand corner, in the surprising and unimportant, there was the story about me buying a shipwreck. So it was that was quite nice. I'm going to get a T-shirt made up with it, I think, and surprising but unimportant.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think I'll take that as a
Well, he was with good company as well.
Sorry?
He was with good company as well.
Yeah, for certain. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but we've had it happen locally as well when the Gloucester was found, with
Yeah.
yeah, so stuff like that is just suddenly it brings it into the media, and people realise that people do go out and try and find wrecks and do actually dive in the UK.
Yeah. I mean, the Gloucester story is an absolutely incredible one. And I mean, I guess you're obviously East Anglia, that kind of way. And I guess you're quite lucky, aren't you? Because, it's not particularly deep out for quite a long way from you. And there's a whole load of stuff in there. Now, I guess the negative is that my understanding is the viz isn't too good and the sand changes all the time, which kind of works both ways. But I've not much done much diving on the East Coast, but I have heard a bit about it. And the Gloucester, as you say, fantastic story.
Yeah. And again, sort of UK diving, do you do any abroad diving with wrecks further afield, or are you more UK based?
I mean, I have done, obviously. So I've dived all the kind of usual locations, Egypt and Malta and various other places in the Mediterranean. I've dived in the Caribbean. I've dived, obviously, in the Pacific. Do we still count Ireland as overseas? I guess we probably do. So I've dived in Ireland. I've dived in Germany. So I've dived in quite a lot of different places. Most of my stuff overseas has been recreational. The only place that I've really done technical diving overseas are Malta, which is brilliant, obviously, and Croatia. So the island of Vis on Croatia, very famous for its technical diving, all the kind of planes and stuff that there are out there. Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, no, I don't do so much overseas stuff these days. not least because one is my wife doesn't dive anymore, or doesn't really dive anymore, which is a bit sad. And the fact is that our kind of diving paths have gone in a different route as well. And the fact is, for me, I love the exploration we can do in this country so much that I
Yeah.
kind of, I'm not gonna go anywhere until I've done everything in the UK or the
Yeah.
British Isles anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much limitless, isn't it?
It is.
What about tracking down missing aircraft? Because there's quite a lot of them as well, especially from wartime.
In Viz, did you say? Sorry.
In the channel, what have you?
Yeah, no,
Is that
there
of
are
interest?
aircraft, and the problem with aircraft wrecks in the UK is they absolutely get smashed to bits.
Yeah, I
So
bet.
there's normally very, very little of them left. So I don't know if you've dived. There's remains of a Lancaster and a Sunderland off Plymouth, but really all there are the engines.
Mm.
I think that's fairly common with plane wrecks in the UK. Somewhere
Yeah.
like Croatia, though, I don't know if you've seen the famous B-17 that they have out there, but it's almost completely intact, like on
Yeah.
the seabed. So, I mean, it's sort of upper 60s meters, but literally the entire plane is there. You can see the guns, you can look in the cockpit. You
Awesome.
just don't get that experience with planes in the UK, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's
but
incredible.
yeah, no. But also the other problem with planes is they're a bit small as well, so you get around them quite
I
quick.
suppose they don't. I suppose they don't really show much on the charts.
No, you would.
Like,
There wouldn't be enough left of a plane really for
yeah.
it to flag up in the UK HO stuff.
Mm.
So no, I don't really do too much of that.
Yeah. And I think the reason we came across you is because of your YouTube channel. So what kind of inspired you to set that up? Because it is successful.
Yeah, I'm really surprised actually, but obviously really pleased as well. So I've been carrying a video camera on my head for quite a long time. So initially I started doing it so that I could review my dive afterwards. It's quite handy to see if you've missed things or bits or those kind of things. So I probably started doing that about 5 years ago, and probably about 7, maybe 8 months ago, I was looking at my videos and thinking, we have done some incredible stuff. I'm sure people would be interested in this. And I'd
Mm.
uploaded some stuff before, but I thought, you know what, I'll do something a bit different. I will put a voiceover on it. I'll explain to people what's happening. That bit about the history, I'll add in the
Yeah.
history. And for whatever reason, that appeared to chime with people. And, people were watching these things. I was getting loads of comments, and people were doing all the YouTube stuff on it. And they were like, "When's the next one coming out?" And I'm like, "Oh, crikey!" And so the demand was there, so I just carried on doing it, and it's kind of gone on from there. It's absolutely incredible, but I am really really loving it, and the great thing, as I've said, is because I have got a back archive of 4 years of footage, and I'm doing so much diving. I don't.
Yeah.
There's obviously the risk of always with any sort of YouTube channel or anything like that is running out of material. I don't think I am going to run out of material. There's loads more stories. I've got loads more. We've got some projects this year that could produce some really interesting results. I'm sitting on a story at the moment that is I think going to be really significant. I'd love to tell you about it. Unfortunately, I can't. But I've got the video. There's a brilliant story associated with it, and I'm hoping it's going to be out relatively soon. So I don't know when you're going to publish this, but it might be out by the time you go
Okay.
live with it.
Yeah, well, you have to keep us posted, and then maybe we can buddy up. So
Yeah.
but yeah, obviously with producing YouTube channels, it's so time consuming. So you're diving, doing all this editing, voiceovers. You must be very good with your time management.
Yeah, no, it is quite demanding. You are absolutely right. And as I may have previously mentioned, I have a very tolerant wife, and but it's also like anything, you get better at it, don't you? So
Yeah.
you get quicker,
Yeah.
you know what works and all those kind of things. And I think I'm getting to that stage now, so I can turn stuff out relatively quickly. But yeah, it's it's in terms of what I don't try and do is I don't try and analyze it. I don't go. It's this amount of effort to have that many people watch it or that many people like it or whatever else
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
probably best not to do that. I think that can, some of the stats when you look at it, you think, oh, and yes, we don't really look at that too much, really.
No, it's about enjoying doing it.
It
And
is, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it must be the same for you guys as well. I mean, it's I know you've been doing this a very long time, haven't you? So,
It's fitting it all
keeping
in.
the motivation and enthusiasm must be challenging.
yeah.
That's the hardest thing. It's fitting it all in because with day jobs and big scuba is like another job, and that's where time management really does come in, I guess.
Yeah, and then you've got family and life to roll with it as well. It's literally, but yeah, you do
Yeah,
it because you like it and you love it, and it's great getting the feedback and you getting all the comments and exposing technical diving in the UK to the people that maybe don't even dive. It is just a really easy watch and really incredible.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the interesting things to me is how many fishermen watch it.
Yeah.
So I get loads of comments because I'm
I
rubbish with
wonder
fish.
why.
Yeah, I'm rubbish with fish. I don't know at all. So I'll see a fish and I'll go, "Oh, look, there's a big fish," and somebody will come back and say, "Oh, that's a pollock or a ling or whatever, or a shark or whatever else it is." And I think they almost take it personally when I get it wrong. But yeah, it's amazing. But also, I think people like to watch it. As you get lots of people who go, "Oh, I'm absolutely terrified of the water," but I love watching your videos. It's kind of interesting, that I can maybe offer them something that they wouldn't be able to get anywhere else.
Yeah, and also it's
I know.
inspiration to people. We're recreational divers, but who knows what the future holds, and showing, that's another level or layer of diving.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the things is people do tend to find whatever their particular thing is and go down that
Mm.
route, don't they? So some people, photography is really important for them, and they love taking photos and all that. Other people are absolutely about the fish life.
Yeah.
That's it. Other people, it's all about instructing and guiding and bringing people on, and that is really nice as well. Other people just do it for the social side of things. Some people absolutely love different forms of kit and fettling kit, and this hose goes there and all that kind of stuff. And it's great for them. And I think one of the nice things about diving is that it offers, and you don't have to be exclusive to those things. You can spread it around.
Mm.
Those diving offers all those things for everybody, doesn't it? Whatever your
Yeah.
thing is, you can probably find it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So is all your diving rebreather diving exclusively now?
I did take somebody in earlier this year for the club. I'm not part of the Plymouth Sound branch of the BZAC here. They wanted somebody to take somebody in for, I think maybe their second open water ocean diver um, lesson. I did that for them earlier on in the year, but please, please don't tell anybody because I don't want them to get the wrong idea about me.
Okay, we
Um,
won't.
I did have to borrow some equipment though because I don't actually have I don't have a single cylinder rig anymore. So somebody lent me some gear and I use that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting watching some of the videos and about learning about what a lazy shot is and then seeing you read a Kindle on your decompression stops. And it just, that again, to, Joe Blogs outside walking down the street, they wouldn't have a clue that goes on underwater.
Well, I've upgraded. I've upgraded from my Kindle. The
Oh,
big for 2025 is I've got. I don't know if you've seen them. The Dive Voke phone housings. They are absolutely unbelievable things. They you put your mobile phone in it and you can operate the touch screen through the housing
Wow.
and
really?
the 60-meter rated. So instead of taking my Kindle underwater now, I now take this dive vote thing underwater, leave it on the lazy shot that you've seen, and it's there when I come back, and I watch films on it. It's you can. I obviously I've got
Awesome.
subtitles on it, but you can hear the sound if you've got the volume turned up to max as well. Absolutely incredible, total game changer. I took one out on the boat earlier this year, and everybody I was diving with has subsequently gone away and bought one.
No
so,
way.
so there's, we're all going to be on
What is
decompression
it
stops
called?
now, and everyone's going to be reading. Watching a film now.
What is it called again?
It's a dive voke,
Vogue.
Dive, then
Hmm.
capital
Oh,
V MOLK, C Touch Max 4 Plus.
Yeah.
The-
I'll
the-
have to have a look.
Yeah, I mean they're unbelievable things. So they're £200. So not beyond the wit of man. You can use them. You can take video. Obviously, you can use the camera function, so you can take videos with them. You can take photos with them. You can watch films with them. I put my actual phone in it, so I haven't bought a special phone for it. So my main phone goes in it. That's how confident I am in it. And they're fantastic. If you have a look at my from my very latest video and skip to the end, you will see me watching a film on there with them. Brilliant.
Yeah, because we have spoken to technical divers in the past, and they say about the decompression and how boring it is, but this just adds, makes it fine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it is. Some people do look actually quite like it. They like the peace and the solitude and all those kind of things. I've never really got on with that. But this is an absolute game changer from that perspective. I mean, back in the day, they used to take magazines down. They'd read the magazine, rip out each page at a time. Other people, you can get underwater books. People have tried those. People do things like crosswords or Sudoku or various other bits and pieces. I've seen people play thumb wars, underwater, but that doesn't last you 2 hours. So
we have spoke to a magician who did tricks with bands and other things underwater.
Yeah, so you could entertain your buddies.
I don't like my buddies enough to entertain them. No. This is for me. This is an absolute game changer. This thing.
Yeah. So just talking of buddies, are you in buddy pairs when you do these big wreck dives, or are you in big groups?
So yeah, I mean, by and large, we do tend to operate. Different people operate in different ways. Some people like to dive solo. Some people like to dive as pairs. Most of the time, I dive with. I prefer to dive with a pair. So lots of my diving I do with a guy called Rick Ayrton, who is a stunning underwater photographer.
Yeah.
If you've not spoken to him, I suspect he would be a good guest for you. He takes brilliant photos, and to do them at the depths we go to, given there's no light, there's so little time. Obviously, you've got all the other considerations to worry about. Is absolutely incredible. So I love diving with him. I love diving with him for two reasons. The first thing is that he's a really good buddy and a really good diver. But obviously, the other reason you can probably guess, which is that I quite like him taking photos of me. so it's a bit selfish, but he's great. But I'm good for him as well because I'm videoing. I've got video lights, and therefore, as a photographer, it's really handy to have somebody else down there with video lights because obviously they do illuminate the scene, and it does work for him. So he got an award last year for one of his photos, which was a photo of me at 80 meters in the English Channel on a wreck, and so I kind of think we both got a bit of something out of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, we have had Rick on.
Oh, have you? Sorry, I missed that.
That must be what, 3 years ago?
Quite, yeah, it's probably lockdown time. Yeah. Okay. But yeah.
Is that about Britannic? I think we got him on to talk about Britannic, didn't we?
Yeah, I think
yes.
He had a book come out, didn't he? I think he had a book coming out.
Yeah, so his Rick's book on the Britannic is probably the best diving book about the Britannic.
Really awesome photos with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got great photos, but the other bit of it that is really interesting is that you don't often get in these kind of things is he has an entire section about their diving procedures.
Yeah.
So he talks about gases they used, the procedures they used for decompression, some of the stuff that happened, all that kind of thing. So it's for somebody like myself or for another technical diver, it's really interesting to get that kind of level of detail, which you don't always get.
Yeah.
No,
it is interesting.
I suppose some divers don't. I suppose a bit worried about putting that type of thing out there. I guess.
Yeah, I guess, or maybe they think people might not be interested. I don't know, but he's definitely put it out there, and it's really interesting and useful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of the things I try and do with on my YouTube videos. So I some of the more recent ones I do, I kind of discuss some of the things that I guess technical divers know, but haven't quite filtered down into the rest of the world. So, one of the things, for instance, is a CNS clock. If you were to do a advanced nitrox course, for instance, or some sort of accelerated decompression course, you would be told about how important the CNS clock is and how you've got to stay below 80% or 100%, depending on the agencies, and you would be, particularly in BZAC, there are tables where you calculate fractions of CNS values and you add them all up, and there's a ton of maths and everything. If you dive on if you do a deep dive on a rebreather, you are going to go over all of those limits every time you dive, pretty much. So the recommendation is either 80 or 100%. I've had 170, 180%. If you were to look at the guys who do like the deep cave stuff, the wet mules who've done the 230-meter dives in New Zealand, they will be 1,000% CNS or something absolutely crazy like that. Now, we all know that, and therefore we ignore CNS clock by and large. But other, I guess people who haven't got to that level yet still spend a lot of time and effort on something that, in my view, is essentially valueless. So, it's one of the things that I'm trying to sort of make people aware of, really. And there are other lessons like that, or other things that I don't think have quite filtered down yet.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And we obviously talked to a lot of divers, and we've had fitness discussions, being fit to dive. Do you work out to aid your diving?
So I've always been, I'm ex-military, so I've always been a runner, and I still run. That is my fitness. And, I think, if you run a couple of times a week, you are always going to be relatively fit. So I've had an HSE diving medical until very recently. I had a flying medical back in the day, and I've got no doubt that I could go and get an HSE medical tomorrow, and that is part of my risk mitigation strategy, I guess, against the fact that what I do is quite dangerous. So I think it was 2 years ago, 4 people. I was on the scene when 4 people got bent, 2 technical divers and 2 recreational divers, and that does exist. It is a thing, and I think having good cardiovascular, is an important part of minimising the risk.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We tend to always remark, they're all shapes and sizes of divers.
So. Yeah, for certain. I mean, diving's got a bad reputation. We all know that. But for the people who go diving, and what I would say to people is, you need to mitigate your risks, and there's different ways of mitigating risks. One of the ways is by, having a reasonable level of fitness. Now, that's not for everybody, and reasonable level of fitness means different things to different people. But what I would say is, if you don't have that, you probably want to look at other ways of mitigating your risk. Maybe more conservative run times, or adding in extra stops, or using better gas mixtures, or making sure that you take care of other factors such as making sure you're warm and well rested, and bloody blah. There's a whole load of ways you can minimize risk on it.
Yeah. I never knows how these people. I see them go to the hatch at Stony, say, and you see them in between dives, these massive, great big baguettes, and you think, how are you eating all that? And then you're going to go diving, and all that bread and stuff, and that's like, I don't know how they do it, because I
certainly don't want to be doing it in a rebreather, because obviously whatever you eat is going to be going around your loop. So you're going to be tasting whatever it is for several hours. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of those things, though, isn't it? Diving is an inclusive sport, and it's important that it's good, I guess, because people are not sitting at home watching TV, not sitting at home on the phone. They are getting out and they're doing something. A lot of those people may be teaching other people, or going diving with other people, or it's part of a club or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's not, that's not my lifestyle. I guess people are able to make their own choices, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, if they're responsible.
I don't know how you do it. It's all that bread and everything. It's like, blimey,
Yeah, it is a risky sport, and you've got to have that awareness of what you're doing, haven't you? And looking after yourself.
Yeah. Everything's a risk. Walking outside, it's a risk.
Yeah.
You just have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a famous thing, isn't it? Before you die, it's important to live first, and that is important, isn't it? You've got to do things with your life, whatever it is that you think is important to you. And
Yeah.
and you know, I think that's kind of a fairly decent mantra, I think.
Yeah. So have you got any advice for people that are sort of looking at what you do and thinking, oh, maybe I could do that one day, or, you know, any advice for new divers?
Yeah, for certain. I mean, it's very achievable, I think. Don't feel that you've got to be this super ninja. Don't feel you've got to have done A, B, C, or D. What I would say is, it is something you can do. I know a guy who went from never having dived to doing a 100-meter dive in 5 years, which is you know, pretty good going by anybody's mean, you know, by anybody's stretched imagination. I mean, he crammed a lot in, but it is very possible. He's a youngish guy. I think he did it before he was 30. You know, he was really, you know, focused on that's what he wanted to do. So it is doable. As always with any form of diving, what you need to do, of course, is be realistic about your own abilities. And you know, an awful lot of people, I think, have come unstuck as you go deeper by not being realistic about their own abilities and trying to run before they can walk. So there's all sorts of people who are good instructors in different disciplines. You know, by and large, a fairly good piece of advice would be to listen to what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's true. And I think I was talking to somebody this morning actually on a similar path, and egos can creep in, and I think you have to be really careful with egos, because that can lead people down a certain route, and it's not a race. And I think you have to be honest with yourself, and I think you have to be, as you said, you know, aware of what your abilities are. And I think it's easy to say, you know, to get carried away and you know, let that, you know, get out of hand to a bit and forget your training.
Yeah, for certain. I mean, the one thing I would say is people, particularly if you're looking at trimix diving, I if you want to become a trimix diver, my advice: do not bother doing it with open circuit, because
Yeah.
you pay for an expensive course, you'll do one dive, realize it's completely unaffordable, and you will then never do it again. You don't need to have done that to go on a rebreather. So if you're thinking about that kind of stuff, just don't waste your money. Bite a bullet and get onto a rebreather. And the prices of them are, you know, second-hand ones are relatively reasonable. And you know, there's some really capable units out there, and you know, it's, if you want to do trimix diving, it is really the only way to do it. I cannot remember the last time I saw somebody diving an open circuit.
Yeah.
On an open circuit trimix dive.
Yeah. And it's encouraging because, you know, we've seen people recreationally that have gone over to rebreathers, and, you know, it just shows that it is accessible. It's not something that is elite or out there. It's
Well, it's an investment in sport that you enjoy, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Always what you do, you should be enjoying it. It's not, you shouldn't be forcing yourself. If you are, then you probably need to
Well,
have a
you've
good
got
look in the mirror.
no, you've got to enjoy what you do and come out smiling. We always say that. It's a,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So what does the future hold that you can tell us about?
well, it's a future. Well, so I'm diving this weekend. I've got 3 days diving actually during the week, and then I've got probably the big thing that I'm kind of got everything crossed for is I'm part of a team called the Gasparados, run by Stephen Barber and Mortimer, who've been responsible for some fantastic discoveries around the UK. They found the HMS Hawk last year. Fortunately, I wasn't involved in that, but they found it. And we are looking for a ship called the United States Coast Guard Tampa, which was another First World War casualty. 120 odd guys missing on it, and we have been looking for it for the last 3 years off the north coast of Cornwall. We're going out again in a week and a half's time, and if we find it, it will be really big news. The Mortimers are absolutely convinced that their mark this time is good. It's a long way out. It's 90, 95, 100 meters again, so it's going to be a big dive. But fingers crossed we find the Tampa, because if we do, it'll be a big story, I think.
Yeah, Amazing. Well, let's hope that weather stays like it is at the moment. We're pretty blessed at the moment. So yeah, which is for the UK, where it's not always that way, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. We can cope with anything else apart from wind.
Yeah.
Just no wind, please.
No. Well, we better get these questions in, Gemma.
Yes, yep. So our first question is, if you could take 3 people underwater, they can be past, present, who would you take and why?
3 people. Well, I'm gonna start off with the cheesiest one, I'm afraid. I taught my daughter to dive a few years ago, and we haven't been in together for a while. So I would love to. I'd love to take her underwater, just because it's it's a great thing to do with your children, and in due course her 2 brothers as well. The another person I would love to take in. So I mentioned to you the lady who got in touch with me about her grandfather.
Yeah,
I would love to be able to take her down and show her the wreck of the
that'd be awesome.
Jacob Jones. So that would be awesome. And I'm going to finish off with another cheesy one, which is I used to love diving with my wife when we did stuff together, and unfortunately she doesn't. She's not interested in what I do, but it would be awesome if we could go out and do it together.
Yeah. No, very good answers. Yeah.
Yeah. You could always snorkel or something like that.
Yeah, I guess she would go diving if we went to Egypt and went and did the reefs and all those kind of things. What I'd like to do is go and do my diving with her.
So how old are your children?
I've got a 15-year-old daughter, I've got a 12-year-old son, and a 10-year-old son. So they've all been on scuba gear, but only my daughter's got a qualification. We're hoping later on in the year we'll go and get the boys qualified as well.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be awesome to see them get underwater as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So our final question, if you had a billboard that you could put out to the whole world, you could put it on the side of a wreck or fly it from a plane, but what message would you put on that billboard to the rest of the world?
Clearly I'm going to put on how the Observer described me, aren't I? I'm going to put out there, surprising but unimportant.
I like that.
Yeah, that's great. You can just carry that on through life now. No, very good. Yeah, very good answers. Yeah. So in terms of obviously people listening to this, if they want to know more about you or pop you some questions, where is the best place for them to look you up and see what you do?
Yeah, so they can find me on my YouTube channel, Deep Wreck Diver. They can find me on Facebook as well, Deep Wreck Diver. They can. I've got a Deep Wreck Diving Facebook group, which they're obviously more than welcome to go on as well. So all of those are good. Reach me through any of them.
Yeah, great. Okay, well we'll put all that in the show notes so people can click on it and get right to you. But we just wish you lots of adventure and exploration for the future and all these different projects you're involved in. It's been really, really good talking to you, and quite inspirational really. It's just showing it's all possible.
Yeah, thanks. And I'll keep you updated if there's any of these things come off.
Yeah, any exclusive, that'd be great. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for being on the BiG Scuba podcast.
Well, we want to say thank you very much for Dom coming on and going through his story, his diving career, very long and varied. Yes,
and amazing that it's predominantly UK based, and the quest is on for more wrecks around the UK and the United Kingdom.
We are lucky. We are, I have to say, we are so lucky on this. If you're into your wrecks, we are very lucky with having such a plethora of choice. And because as you said, we're still discovering wrecks today, which have been long lost. And it's amazing, really. You think a big ship goes down, you kind of assume people would know where they are. But 100 years ago or 80 years ago, we didn't have GPS tagging and logging and means of communication and things like that. So when they went down, they're in the sea. They're fine.
And as technology advances and all this seabed mapping, they hopefully will be, more exploration going forward.
Well,
And
it will, because I think the technology will increase, and a
mm,
lot of the, I know, we spoke to someone a while back who's doing all this, and a lot of it's now, they're doing all this 3D
yeah,
um, surveying, aren't they?
3D imaging, you can see from where.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the way it'll go. Once technology increases over time, there'll be more and more of these wrecks come to life. And it's pretty amazing. I know he's not much of a he's within reason. Planes are hard to find
Mhm.
because a lot of them were made of wood, cloth, things like that, so that all perished. Um, you know, and the only things left are the engines. But there's so many of the aircrew who disappeared at wartime,
Mm,
and nothing was ever heard of them again. Glenn Miller, the musician, he disappeared, and there's been all
yeah.
sorts of stories and things about what happened to him.
Mm,
So it'd be amazing to find more of these people who have been lost to the ocean, who you can then really pass the details on to families and say,
yeah.
well, they're still alive, and say, well, that's what happened to them.
Yeah, or even
Yeah.
just the matter of finding a ship's bell and you can identify that ship. And, then again, its
Mm.
location of loss is certain, and that's history, it's
Yeah.
not ended, but it's kind of a bit more of a closure to something that, was a bit of an unknown and when it happened.
Well, I think a wreck is a piece of metal, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's a
Mm,
piece of metal and it's there. Or if it was wood, it's wood. But I think when you discover them and you explore them, it then brings them to life where
yeah.
they were once part of somebody's life. Somebody worked on there, somebody owned it, somebody ran it, and it was amazing to see. And then something happens, and so I think finding these wrecks does bring them back to life, doesn't it?
Yeah, and thank goodness there are people like Dom out there doing all this that get
Mm.
this real
Yeah.
thriving, intent to, explore and discover.
Well, especially along that Irish Channel there, north of Cornwall, because
Currents, depth. It's
current
just like,
going to
yeah.
be a pretty amazing. You get that volume of water running, and
Mm,
you're going to get washed off it pretty quick if you
yeah,
aren't, if you get it wrong.
yeah. But
Difficult,
again,
definitely difficult.
yeah. But I've watched some of his YouTube channel and it is really, really easy watching to
Yeah,
even a non-diver, and he talks really concisely, and yeah, it's easy to understand. So if anything to do with the underwater world you're interested, particularly wrecks or tech diving, then it's worth a
yeah.
watch. Yeah.
But remember, and he made a good point. It's not for everyone.
No.
Not for everyone, and it's very easy to jump in and think diving is easy, and it's
Mm.
not. It's not for everyone, and it's okay to think, do you know what? Actually, I don't enjoy it, or I
Yeah.
don't actually, find it very easy when the conditions are not good.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to do stuff that you love because you're only here once. So
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it and
exactly.
enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, we should say at this point as well. We've talked to Dom about technical diving. One of the great companies that we work with who support a lot of the technical divers and rebreathers is our good friends Narct at 90. They are beyond technical.
They are. So you can look them up at www.narct90.com. They're a UK-based company, but they serve their worldwide customer base. So
Yeah,
any questions, or if you're looking for even a dive computer, they're the people to go to for advice, and they're experts in their field.
yeah. I've got a long list of ships now to look up.
I know.
Um,
It's just
because
writing
I
stuff
want to look
down.
down. So, a couple of them I've heard of before, and a couple of them I haven't. So what? Have a look at them. And that south coast in our UK, the conditions are usually pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, they do have a better. I've been seeing things posted on Facebook just this last week, 10 meters visibility down
Yeah.
on the south coast. And, again, we say about the south coast, but we have got wrecks on the east coast here, and they are in much shallower water, but again,
Covered in sand.
covered in sand, and you just need to storm in and they get uncovered. But, that's why diving is so diverse in the UK. So,
It is. Yeah.
yeah, and we should be very grateful that what we've got on our doorstep.
Absolutely. Yeah, very true. Very true. I think that's kind of everything, isn't it? I think we kind of covered everything.
Yes, so just a reminder, there's a back catalogue of over 200 episodes, and we did mention some previous guests, Lee Bishop,
Yes.
Rick Ayrton, John Chatterton. So they are all big technical divers, so you can go back and listen to their episodes as well.
Yeah, so do that. There's something for everybody.
There is, yeah. We cover all bases.
We do.
Yeah, so if you've got any suggestions for guests, drop us an email or contact us on our social media, and we'll look them up. Or if you've got any questions for future guests,
Yeah, or you are a diver and you have a story to tell, then as Gemma just said, get in contact. Let us know. There's all plethora of different ways you can contact us, email us, send us a DM, whatever's your boat, float your boat.
Yeah.
Let us know, raise your hand, and we'll share it with the class.
Yes, and then just a reminder to review the podcast, give us a review, give us a rating, tell your friends.
Yes.
It all helps get it out there. And we do have a YouTube channel as well, the BiG Scuba, so look that up with some of our adventures as well.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, so this is Friday evening, and we're going to look forward to a sunny weekend and wish you a happy weekend. You're diving, aren't you? Dive master dutying.
Yes, for Crystal Sea Scuba in Norwich.
First one of the year.
Eating a massive, great big bread baguette.
No. So, as you say,
good for you if you do. Good. I'm not. If you are, great. Personally, no, not for me. Thank you. Not when I'm diving.
Dom did say it's an all-inclusive sport, so we have to.
It is all-inclusive. Hug everybody. There we go.
There we go. So, but yeah, I hope you have a great weekend diving at Stony Cove, and I'm sure it'll be sunny. And
I'm sure it will. It's meant to be. Yeah, it's meant to be warm.
Water temperature's 13 degrees, I saw on Facebook today.
Not quite ready for the old wetsuit yet. Another month, I think I'll be there. I think
might be, but it's better than single figures. So yeah.
It's coming up.
Yeah,
it's coming up.
So it'd be fun, I'm sure. So
yeah.
But that was the BiG Scuba podcast, and thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening, and don't forget all those past episodes. Go back and have a listen.
See you soon. Now that does wrap up today's episode of the BiG Scuba podcast. But if you want to hear more from the podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button depending on what platform you are listening on. That way you will never miss an episode from us. But if you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy what you heard today, we would really appreciate it if you head to the show page to leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help us. If you do, please take a screenshot of that review and send it to us on Instagram, and we'll give you a shout out to say a big thank you. If you have any questions for us or anything that has been mentioned in today's episode, be sure to reach out to us on any of our social media platforms or send us an email. The links are in the show notes. We will get back to you no matter what. If you have made it to this point in the episode, we both want to say a big thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.